Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance. In this video, we're going to cover the potential tariff stimulus checks that we could all potentially be receiving, or at least most of us, because they're probably going to be reduced for people that make a lot of money and aren't brokies. So let's read the exciting news here. Senator Josh Hawley introduced the American Worker Rebate Act legislation that would send rebate checks to working Americans following the historic revenue accrued through President Trump's tariff policy. If you don't remember, the government before the tax cuts was running $2 trillion deficits every year. Now they're probably going to be higher, but because we generated revenue with tariffs, now we're going to give it back to people. And oh, by the way, you're just getting your money back that you're paying in taxes via the tariffs. It's kind of like the stimmy checks you got, and then there was massive inflation. You remember that? Americans deserve a tax rebate after 4 years of bad policies that have devastated their family savings and livelihoods. Like President Trump proposed, my legislation would allow hardworking Americans to benefit from the wealth that Trump's tariffs are returning to this country. You're not. You're paying higher taxes for goods. Senator Hawley announced this legislation last week after Trump voiced support for this policy when he discussed record-breaking tariff revenue. Yes, we have record-breaking tariff revenue because we massively increased tariffs. The United States now has record monthly tariff revenue, which nearly reached $30 billion in June. 30 billion more taxes paid by you, corporations. Several projections suggest the United States could see over $150 billion in tariff revenue in 2025 alone. The American Worker Rebate Act would provide a tariff rebate check this year to American workers and families with similar parameters to direct payments passed by Congress in 2020. Ensure the amount of rebate is at least $600 per adult independent child, so $2,400 for a family of four. And allow a larger credit per person if tariff revenue exceeds the current projections for 2025. So I actually pulled up the full beer. I pulled up the full beer here. Bill. I don't know why I can't say Bill tonight. So let's see if we can scan the bill. To amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to provide rebates to individuals using tariff proceeds. The act may be cited as the American Worker Rebate Act. Statement of policy. It is the policy of the United States to use revenue raised from tariff applied on foreign imports to provide relief for working people through immediate tax rebates. Yes, so they're taking your taxes, they're taxing you because you're paying more for products, and then they're giving you the money back. Why not just keep the tariff? Just raise taxes. Just keep the tariffs and don't give us rebates. Just be honest, okay? You're getting your money back. Subchapter B, blah, 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 blah. In general, in the case of an eligible individual, there shall be allowed as a credit against the tax imposed by Subtitle A for the first taxable year beginning in 2025 of an amount equal to the applicable amount plus an amount equal to the product of the applicable amount multiplied by the number of qualified children. The applicable amount is $600 per person. An amount equal to the quotient of the amount of qualifying tariff proceeds received during the taxable year divided by the total number of eligible individuals and qualifying children of such individuals for such taxable year. So you're either going to get $600 per person, if I'm reading this correctly. You're either going to get $600 per person, or they're going to take all the tariff revenue, divide it by all the qualifying children and individuals, and whichever number is greater. So let's say we theoretically brought in $1 trillion in tariff revenue, or $5 trillion in revenue. Well, the check would actually be bigger. So it's the greater of, but I feel like it's going to be $600. For purposes of this subsection, the term qualifying tariff proceeds means the revenues received in the general fund of the Treasury, which are attributable to duties, including any supplemental duties, imposed after January 20th, 2025. Okay. The credit allowed by subsection A shall be treated as followed by subpart C. Limitation based on adjusted gross income. So when you do your tax return, You report your wages, your interest, your dividend income, your capital gains, and then you get to what's called your adjusted gross income. And then from your adjusted gross income, you get your QBI, if you have any, qualified business interest deduction, and you get the standard deduction. So this is before the standard deduction. And if you have lots of dividend income or you sell a bunch of stocks for capital gains, you might be excluded from this. So the limits are $150,000 in the case of a joint return. So if you're married, $112,000 if you're a single mom, head of household, or $75,000 if you're single. So if you make any amount of money as a single person, because this is before the standard deduction, you might not qualify. You need to be kind of a brokey, to be honest. Okay. For purposes of this section, the term eligible individual means any individual other than any non-resident individual, an alien. Any individual with respect to whom a deduction under Section 151 is allowable to another taxpayer beginning in the calendar year for which the individual is taxed, and an estate or trust. Okay. In general, the amount of the credit which would be allowable under this section shall be reduced, but not below zero, by the aggregate refunds and credits made or allowed to the taxpayer under subsection F. Any failure to so reduce the credit shall be treated as arising out of a mathematical or clerical error and assessed according to section. Okay, so they're referring to section F here. Subject to paragraph 5, each individual who was an eligible individual for each individual's first taxable year beginning in 2024 shall be treated as having made a payment against the tax imposed by Chapter 1 for such tax payable year, an amount equal to the advance refund amount for the taxable year. So I think what this is saying is that it's based off your 2024. I think that's what it means. The writing is a little opaque here. Advance refund amount. For purposes of paragraph 1, the advance refund amount is the amount that would have been allowed as a credit under the subsection for such taxable year if this section had applied to such taxable year. Timing and manner of payments. The Secretary shall, subject to the provisions of this title, refund or credit any overpayment attributable to this section as rapidly as possible. No refund or credit shall be made or allowed under the subsection after December 31st, 2026. You better get it, and you better get it soon. Delivery of payments. The Secretary may certify and disperse refunds payable under the subsection electronically to any account to which the payee authorized on or after January 1st, 2023. The delivery of a refund taxes under this title or a federal payment. Okay, so I guess they're just going to send it to whatever frickin' account was on your last tax return. Okay. Let's see. Let's keep reading. Is there anything else in here? No interest shall be allowed on any overpayment attributable to this section. Okay. Let's see. Not later than 15 days after the date on which the Secretary distributed any payment, notice shall be sent by mail to such taxpayer's last known address. Such notice shall indicate the method by which such payment was made, the amount of such payment, and a phone number for the appropriate point of contact for any failure to receive such payment. I wonder if there's going to be any fraud with this. Oh, I never got it. Okay. Let's see. Adoption taxpayer number. Special rule for members of the armed forces. Okay. This is basically like, I remember during the pandemic when I was doing tax returns, you basically had to report it on your taxes. So the IRS sent you a form, and then if you didn't get the stimulus check, you actually could get it later on. And true story, so when my son was born in 2021, I initially didn't get the $1,400 stimulus check. But apparently you could actually still claim it if the child was born in 2021. So I was able to actually get that when I filed my tax return because we received the payments before he was born. But because he was born in 2021, when I finally did my tax return, I was able to claim it. So you could still probably most likely claim this on your tax return at the end of the year if your child is born in that year. So remember that. Okay. The Secretary of the Treasury shall conduct a public awareness campaign to provide information regarding the availability of the credit. All right. So the main things to understand is, the phase outs are pretty low. If you have a joint return and you make 150 of AGI, that's before the standard deduction, you're not going to get it. Okay. Head of household, 112,500. And then single, if you're a single wonderful person like me, 75,000. So I actually might be cooked for this. Okay. Wow. Wow. You think this is going to pass? I mean, to be honest, we're still running massive deficits. I don't know why we would send a tariff stimulus check. Shouldn't we try to help pay off the debt a little bit? I don't freaking know. Maybe I'm crazy. All right, let's do some comments. Just me and you, Daddy. You're my loyal fan. Can't wait to get my steamy checks. Depends on your income, bro. Ryu, free money. All right. Oh, welcome back to Did you get a free membership? Selling options on my holdings and buying out of the money calls has been terrific for income. Oh, it's so easy, bro. 55% return. Thanks to whoever donated me. You need to pay for a membership, boy. You don't deserve a free one. You deserve to pay. More free money sounds awesome, LOL. Well, if I do get it, what am I going to do with it? I don't know what I would do with my stimmy check. I guess I'd put it in treasuries or maybe VT. I mean, I'm hoping I get my NASA pension check so I can freaking pay off that van. I'm ready to pay off the van. I just need NASA to freaking give me my check. Being born in the U.S. is the American dream. Yeah, just be born in the U.S., bro. It's easy. Just got home from my wagey job. Where's my tariff stick? I don't think this is going to pass. I mean, maybe it does. Maybe it does. And I'm not going to complain if I get a check. But, I mean, it's got to actually pass. And then I'm sure Trump would sign it. But it would actually have to get through Congress and the Senate. Pay Pigs, what's up, baby? You better read my comments. Or you got a free membership, boy. You got a free membership. Too late. Better start lowering rates soon. It really depends on the next couple of jobs reports and where inflation goes. Hopefully we don't get to a scenario where unemployment keeps going up because it's starting to tick up ever so slightly. And then we have inflation. That would be a problem. That would be not so good. Anyway, that's the news. It's basically just like the pandemic. Okay, 600 per person per family with some limitations on income. And then if you miss it, if your child's born, I highly recommend you ask your CPA, and I'll be looking out for that myself. If we do actually get these, ask your CPA, hey, my child was born after I got these checks, but I think I should be able to get it. And you probably will be able to and reconcile it on your tax return. I don't make enough, and that tool Hawley said it's only for Republicans. Yeah, it's only for people who voted for Trump. Let's see. Canada is a recession right now. Trumpski is writing the jobs report now. Oh, yeah, we're good. Jobs are going to be just fine. Jobs are going to be just fine now because, if you post a bad jobs report, Trump's just going to fire you. So you better post good numbers. Inflation is going to skyrocket again. It's possible. That's why the Fed doesn't want to cut rates. Shocker. Trump's freaking tariffs. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. He pulled out the Sharpie for the new numbers. Of course. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to get to bed. My kids are going to wake me up early as heck tomorrow. Yes, I have them all weekend. So we're only doing late night videos on Strongman Personal Finance. All right. Have a wonderful night. Cheers.